So South Africa have announced their squad for the New Zealand series, and today we're going to be talking about that. So I just want to talk about some of the selections, show you guys the team, go through every single position, talk about who we think will start in the games, and yeah, we'll talk through each individual player that has been selected, some of the omissions maybe, some guys that we would have liked to see in the team as well. Various things we're going to talk about on today's show. We also touch a little bit on the under 19 game as well, which South Africa is currently playing England, and it wasn't the best performances from the batters, other than Diavock Brevis with 97. But we will chat a little bit about that today. Sadly, Aditya can't make it today. He sends his apologies. He will try to, and he won't be. He might not be able to make tomorrow either. So we will see him again on Friday, hopefully for the Q&A show. I've sent out the links to all the guys. Let's see who joins the show. But so far, guys, you got me. So you can send me some questions in the live chat, and we can get this conversation going. So if you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Please click that notification bell for all future videos. Don't forget to also subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine Monthly. Every single issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. So go ahead and do that too. So without further ado, guys, let's get straight into today's content. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your daily show. I'm your host, Khalid. I'm here with Verna as well. And today we're going to be chatting about the squad, the South African squad that will take on New Zealand. I'm just going to give you guys a quick update of what's going down. So the squad was announced today. And for the matches that will be happening in February, South Africa will play New Zealand in 2 test matches on Thursday, the 17th of February, to Monday, the 21st of February. That's the first test in Christchurch, and then Friday, the 25th of February to Tuesday, 1st of March is the second test at Christchurch too. So interesting that it's going to be at the same ground. That's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, with regards to the bubbles and all of those type of things, it's obviously easier probably to pick there. But I think this will increase the chances maybe of a draw possibly happening, because if South Africa makes any blunders in the first match, they will probably learn from it and play a lot better, hopefully, in the second. If they do win the first one and New Zealand could come back strong in the second one, will be used to the conditions, etc. So it is two-match test series. Is not necessarily my favorite. I like to at least see three. Because majority of the time these could end up in draws, but we'll wait and see. That time of the year as well, there has been some talk I've seen on social media and all of these platforms about maybe possibly raining in New Zealand as well. There's always seems to be some sort of effects with regards to rain in New Zealand sometimes. So yeah, so we're going to be chatting about that today. But first and foremost, let me just read out some of the press release and just get some idea of what is going down from the quotes with regards to Cricket South Africa. So first and foremost, what I want to talk about is that the fact that Simon Harmer has been recalled to the test team. The 32-year-old Simon Harmer will return to the test setup for the outbound tour to New Zealand. The last time the right-hand off-spinner appeared for the national side was against India in November 2015. He's joined by Lutus Apamle in the squad of 17 that departs for the 2-match test series on 2nd of November. So in a move to obviously minimize the risk of COVID-19, like I just said earlier on, both fixtures will be part of the new cycle of the ICC Test Championship, will now take place at Hagley Oval in Christchurch, like I said. So I assume that beforehand that it will be at the same ground, and obviously it has been confirmed that that's the case. The reason for Harmer getting a call up to the national side is not the reason what some may think. So George Linder is getting married, and that's the reason why he's not in the squad. And then Brennan Sobrayan, who was in the previous squad, is not available for selection because he has a groin injury. So, but he's making good progress apparently in his rehabilitation. But that's the reason he wasn't selected. And so they've gone with Simon Harmer. Now, yes, when it comes to stats, Simon Harmer has 20 wickets in a total of 8 innings at an average of 29.40 in this year's 4-day competition. So it's not like he doesn't deserve it from a selection from a stats point of view. And also Lutus Pamla has been excellent as well. Both the both lethal bowlers from the Lions are in this squad. So you've got Duan Olivier getting retained in 28 wickets. He's taken for the Lions at an average of 21.40. And then we've got Lutus Pamla with 16 wickets in 6 innings, including a best bowling figures of 7 for 39 at an average of 16.56 and a economy rate of 3.73. He made his test debut, of course, against Sri Lanka in 2020, and he has test matches under his belt. So it's only fair that he is the next person in line if they're going to pick Kasima. Um, he has 10 wickets at the test level. So, and then the remainder of the squad is kind of the same. You're obviously missing Andrik Nokia still to injury. But these are the quotes from Victor Impensang. This is what he had to say. He said, "The national selection panel and I are pleased to see that the test team are playing more cricket, and we are looking forward to watching them perform in what we hope to be another scintillating series, this time against the ICC Test World Champions, the Black Caps. Our team has been successful under strong leadership of Dean Alga and Deputy Temba Bavuma and have returned good results in recent times. We are confident that they will continue in the same vein as they head off to New Zealand. The inclusions of Simon Harmer and Lutus Pamla reaffirm our intentions as a panel to reward excellence on the field, and the pair have let their work speak on behalf of the past season." So we wish Dean, Coach Mark Boucher, and all the team for the best for the safe travels to New Zealand. So yeah, that's basically a summary of what the press release had to say. And here is the team. So Werner, I'm going to start with you, obviously, because there's no one else to start with. Oh, here's Paul. So I've got the squad available in front of me, and I'm going to put it up on the screen. I'd like to hear your thoughts first, Werner, and then we can go on to Paul.
Yeah, not much of a surprise. Only the two coming in, Amr and Sipamla. I'm glad about Sipamla. I was very surprised when he was not in the squad for the India series. To be honest, I figured he would play ahead of Biren Hendrick. So I think that's the right decision to bring him back in. He's been doing very well domestically. He was the top wicket taker for the SAA series, so that's great. Amr as well, as you said, second leading wicket taker, and now with Linda attending or going for his wedding, and so Brian still nursing a groin injury, just makes sense to bring him in. I don't believe he'll play a match, but it's good to have him around if Maharaj does pick up an injury, that we do have that spinning backup. But further, not any real surprises. Maybe Aiden Markram is slightly lucky to still be in the squad. I'm not surprised. I figured they'll give him one more series, but this will probably be do or die for him now. If he doesn't perform in this series, that'll probably be it for him for Test for a while, and then Arve will probably get these shots. So let's see what happens.
And Paul, there's been like some mixed feelings about Simon Harmer getting opportunity. I guess there's been mixed feelings about any former Kolpak player that comes back into the side. Initially, when Duan Olivier was selected, there were some that maybe were also feeling a certain way about it. The same with Wayne Parnell also getting selected as well in the ODIs. There was some people that felt certain ways about it too. With regards to Simon Harmer getting selected, what was your thoughts initially when you saw that happen?
I was okay with it because he's the fifth best spinner in the country. That's what they were saying in that press release. They're saying that Kesh is your number one, George Linder's your number two, Sir Brian's your number three. Oh, and then Simon Harmer comes in because Penellin's got a groin injury, so he can't go, and also George Linder's gone. So the selectors are giving the guys who stayed preference, which I'm happy about. I'm not, and because the thing about Simon, like He's the second highest wicket taker, and I don't think he's bowled that well. Like, the only reason why I think he's at 28 is that game at Newlands where only spinners could take wickets. And so for me, I'm a little bit of a. I understand everyone wants Simon Harmer because he considers himself the best spinner in the world, whatever he was when he was playing county cricket. I get that, but from a selection perspective, they made the right decision. So they're not. So essentially, going to England, Simon's not going to be going because George will be back, and Thingy and Penelope O'Brien should be fit. So essentially, that's where the selection committee is saying to us, unless if against Bangladesh, Keshav decides to pull an injury or they decide to rest Keshav and play Simon Harmer, and Simon Harmer rips through Bangladesh, that's probably the only way he can make it into the side. But even then, I think George is still closer to playing for the Proteas than Simon Harmer is, even though George won't be in New Zealand. And the only way Simon Harmer can play is if Keshav either contracts COVID, which I doubt will happen because they've got like a 2-week quarantine period, so he should be fine for the first test, or Keshav is injured. So he's just going there as a effect. To me, how I see it, I think he's going up and going there as a reserve, as a traveling reserve, as an injuries reserve. So essentially, if Kesh is injured, Simon comes in. But fourth best spinner, based on what the selectors have told me, I know it will change probably by the time we go to England. But for now, it's Kesh, it's Linda, it's Subrine, and it's Harmer. That's the order. I'm not worried about Simon Harmer getting. He must go there, carry bags, carry drinks, and be a great team guy. Yeah. I look, if you're a Kolpak and you've proven with your performances that you deserve to be there, that's great. It's just a problem with Simon Harmer that we're not Bangladesh where we play 3 spinners at home. If we played 3 spinners at home, he'd be there. Because he's that good. But we don't. So right now I'm comfortable with that. And if there were guys who deserved an opportunity, if Cash were to be injured or somehow, God forbid, be dropped, I would go George Linder first before I go in with Simon Harmer, even though I know that Simon Harmer has done it a lot more in county. I'd love to see George Linder perform at that international level to see what he can give us, because in South Africa, if George can be a 7th batter and an average spin bowler, we've got something very good. In India, big difference. Simon would probably even push George Linder out the side, but going to New Zealand and going to and playing at home, I do think you have to. He wasn't going to be on the plane if George Linder's soon-to-be wife didn't choose this date. So it kind of tells you that. Remember when CSA decided to tell us that this New Zealand series was happening now, and we were all surprised and we're like, MSL. George thought he was going to be on holiday. So they picked that date, and now he's not going. So it's a little bit unfair. It's a little bit tough, but Simon comes in. I don't think we are going to see him bowl. So if whoever's excited to see Simon Harmer, that's great. He's in the mix. But outside of that, Simon Harmer is essentially fighting with Subrine for the spot, and the selectors went with Subrine for this series instead of Simon Harmer, even though Simon Harmer had taken, by the time I think he was still the number 2 wicket taker when they were selecting the squad. So it kind of gave you an indication of where they were wanting to go. But yeah, happy he's back. Kolpak's come back. It's fine. We're all good. As long as you choose to pledge your allegiance to South Africa, I'm all good. You can pick them if they perform.
Yeah. I'm actually quite interested to see what's going to happen, because it's something that when I look at Simon Harmer, I'm like, the fact that he accepted this, probably knowing that he's not going to play and still going on tour, it shows a character in the man that some people might not have seen this character in him, because he's a very fierce competitor in the middle. He's a guy that maybe comes across to some people as very straightforward, and he is what it is, and he's very competitive in the middle, very passionate guy. there were always from certain fan bases and certain player people. I've heard them talk about Simon Harmer, and not always was it a very good, uh, necessarily good thing. There was a sense of arrogance that some people would maybe associate with him. But this act from his part to accept this, because he could have easily said no. That's also a possibility for him. He could also say no, I don't want to go, because I'm not going to play. Why must I go with to the scary drinks? Perhaps he can. There's some sort of knowledge that he can pass out to these guys as well. And because I don't see him playing in New Zealand if the wickets are as we see. Because I don't see them playing two spinners in New Zealand. So the chances of him playing in New Zealand is highly unlikely, unless Boucher pulls a real fast one on us and he drops
Khalid.
Khalid for someone like
Khalid.
Nova.
Khalid.
There's no way. If New Zealand dropped Ajas Patel after getting a 10th, there's no way they're playing
Exactly.
Armour with Maharaj.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to play two. But
Yeah, that's the
Khalid,
thing.
all Simon Harmer needs is an opportunity to embarrass the batters in this group. That's all he needs. He doesn't need a game. He doesn't need an injury. He doesn't need COVID. All he needs is an opportunity in the nets to embarrass these guys. If he does that, you could find him standing there going, but at practice, I'm the better spinner. And we've always wanted to see the Keshav Simon Harmer situation, but it hasn't come to fruition because Keshav's been the Proteas spinner, so we haven't seen it domestically. But in those closed doors, when they're together with the team in those nets, if Simon Harmer's ripping these guys to shreds with the skill level that he has, because that's the one thing we don't necessarily get to see from a domestic point of view, with the lack of coverage, is the skill level that Simon Harmer has picked up in his time at county cricket. And so it's quite interesting, because I know they've said they love Kesh, they love the skills that he has. But if Simon Harmer comes and is like, look, I bat better than Keshav, which people can debate, but I think he does bat slightly better than Keshav. And I think if he may have a little bit more skills as a right-arm off spinner than Kesh, and he's showing that and embarrassing those guys, you might get a situation where in a selection committee meeting in New Zealand at midnight, because the convener selectors might have to wake up, Victor might have to wake up at like 3 a.m. to discuss the team, they might find a situation where Mark's like, give me Simon. And Victor might be like, no, but Kesh is the guy. And Mark's like, if you want to win this test match, this is the guy you need. So it's going to be quite interesting to see, because they've given him that opportunity. And the way you speak about the fact that he could have said no and he wants to be there, he just wants to do like what Marco Janssen did in the nets, where everyone was like, oh, this guy's actually pretty good and he's good enough to play. So I think for me, that's where, and I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those nets, because if Simon's as good as advertised, we might be in a spinner battle, whatever you guys want to call it.
Can we talk a little bit, Werner, about this comment? Because it is a narrative that has been going around with regards to certain people's attitudes towards Kolpak players, and this Kolpak players are taking other deserving players' spots. We don't need them. That is a narrative that has been flying around with regards to certain Kolpak players being added back into the side. When it comes to Simon Harmer, we already know that the reason he's been selected is because George Linder, he has a wedding, and of course, Sabrayan. Are there any other spinners that maybe stood out to you domestically that you think, hey, maybe should have gotten a spot before Simon Harmer? And with regards to, I know it's difficult to say because Simon Harmer is by far the best spinner with regards to domestic figures. When it comes to in South Africa, as well as in county cricket, he's been excellent as well. But if we take that away and you want to give people that have that, because there's obviously a sense that Kolpak players have turned their backs on their country in a way that some people have that narrative, about it. But from your perspective, who else would you have picked? Because there have been, like, for example, someone like Tabrei Shamsi that has gotten opportunities in the past as well, and has done well domestically for the Titans when he's gotten an opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think Shamsi is quite. I don't think he quite has the control for the long format at the international level, in my opinion. maybe he'll still get there, but I think the only one. I think that Armour being picked was the right decision based on the order, and no one else in the domestic system has been better this season than him statistically. But the only spin bowler that would actually compete for that spot, in my opinion, but it seems the selectors have now gone past him, has been Sean van Berg. He is the only bowler, the other spinner that I would look at to as the backup. He is.
Oh no, Seamus Coleman says the same thing. Mutusami, he's the one now who,
True.
if tonight he's looking at that squad, he's the one who's a little bit angry because he was
true.
he hasn't had a great couple of seasons, but this year like Northwest is hopeless, guys. But I think that's one of the reasons why he's not there.
I think with Mutusami is he's been putting a lot of focus on his batting these days. They've been batting him more up the order, and I think a lot of his focus has been shifted towards his batting and less to his bowling. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe that's just how it looks to me from the outside. But yeah, he's definitely the other guy that could have been in the running. But yeah, as I think Sean van Berg has consistently season in and season out performed well. He's been shoved around. He was at the Titans and the Knights, and then he lost his contract now he's at Boerland. The poor guy deserves a lot better because he's an outstanding leg spinner, and we don't really have that in the longer format, and we could probably do with someone like him. But he is a bit older now, and it seems like the selectors have now looked past him. I think he went on the tour of Sri Lanka,
yes. Shamsi took the wickets in the first game. He then went home for his father's funeral, and then they didn't pick a second spinner. They went with one.
Yeah,
and Sean van Berg carried drinks throughout that series.
Yeah, it's a shame because obviously he's a pretty decent batsman as well. So he'd probably offer a lot more with the bat than somebody like Shamsi would. So he would have been a decent pick to go. But at New Zealand, I still didn't see more than one spinner playing, and I don't have a problem with them picking Harmer because I don't think there's somebody that's bowling. If there was somebody that's bowling as well as him right now in a domestic setup, then I would rather go with the other person. But seeing as Harmer is definitely outperforming the other spinners statistically, at least, it makes sense to pick him after Linda is going to his wedding and Brian has his injury. So I don't think there's any issue with that. The only other guy that I would, and not talking about spinners, but I would like to see in the broader squad going forward is still Bedingham. I just like the way he approaches cricket. I guess it doesn't really matter in Test cricket, but I do like the fact that he has a bit of a higher strike rate and takes the attack to the bowlers, because I enjoy middle order batters who can do that, because you want your openers to set the platform and your number 3 to be solid like Peterson has been. But in the middle order, now that we don't have somebody like Quinny, I would love somebody to have a bit more, just a bit more attacking nature in him, just putting some pressure back on the bowlers. It's not crucial, but it does help. Somebody, I'm not saying he's AB de Villiers, but somebody who transfers back that pressure when you're under pressure. Like a lot of times we would be at 50 for free and AB would come and counterattack for a short while, putting the pressure back on the bowlers. And that would just start us getting going again. So somebody like that I would like to see at least in the squad. But I think for now, Ryan Rickleton, although he's probably now the backup keeper for Verena, could probably play a similar. Yeah, he's not going to play. But I think in the squad right now, he could probably do a similar type of role that David Bedingham could do. But yeah, he'll probably now just be the backup keeper.
3 points, Khalid. Quickly. Sean van Berg and Shamsi, same thing. South Africa has a problem with leg spinners in tests, and it's a mindset issue. They speak of control, and I think Shamsi's worked on his control really well to be you can't be the number 1 spinner in T20 and the best spinner in your country in ODI cricket and have a control issue. And I do think Shamsi's got a much better control of the ball than what and closer to what Tahir had. And I know Tahir struggled in Test match cricket, but also it was the field sets that he was given. And I think it would be lovely to have seen Shamsi get a game But Shamsi no longer even plays 4-day cricket for his franchise because of all his purchase commitments. So that's the one. Also, like with Sean van Berg, it's just the way in which we see wrist spinners in this country in the longer format of the game that kind of kills their thing. Because Sean van Berg is the one guy you would say, like, if there was a guy who deserved a Proteas call-up and bossed domestic cricket, you'd go Martin van Jaarsveld from a test perspective, and you go from a batting perspective, and you go Sean van Berg from a bowling perspective, because he deserved to play in that second test against Sri Lanka away, but somehow they never. Then Otis decided not to give him that call up. The other thing about Mutasami's always been a batter. He started out as a batter, and then he became a bowler. And he went on tour to the Proteas as a bowler. And he admits that at the time, he didn't have the skills that he needed as a bowler to get there. But what I would have loved to see was the way in which we picked George Linder as like that all-rounder, because George Linder's bowling skills aren't as great as Keshav, but his batting is what kept you in. And maybe it's a change of direction and change of strategy to say, okay, fine, if Kesh goes down, would it be better to get someone who can apply themselves with the bat? And we've seen even in India how Muthusamy applied himself with the bat. I think he had a 50 not out in his first game, and he scored a couple of handy runs in the second game. And he applies himself better than Keshav's. So then maybe that could have been an opportunity to give Muthusamy, who I think is in the wider, because he was on the SAA score. He was in the SAA squad. So for me, that's an easy call up, right? So that's the one thing. But I get where they're going. They have to give Simon, because Simon's the number 2. If you pick Dwan thingy. The last thing on Bedingham, right?
Before you go to Bedingham, can I just add a point to that wrist spinner point that you made, because I think it can be a little bit more fleshed out over here with regards to it. I went and looked at some of the top wicket takers like ever, and a lot of the time those spinners weren't wrist spinners. Other than Shane Warne and Kumble, which are the 2 ones that stand out from the rest. A lot of the time, wrist spinners are not necessarily seen as major wicket takers in Test cricket as other spinners, and particularly like they are in T20 cricket and in ODI cricket, because I think there's a risk factor involved with them. They tend to go for quite a lot of runs, even in ODI and T20 cricket, but they take wickets at the regular periods and at crucial times in matches. Whereas you can't take that many risks in Test cricket. You need to be a little bit more accurate and more consistent and putting it on the spot. But then again, when you look at Shamsi in domestic cricket, he does take a lot of wickets domestically, but that's also because of the bamboozle element that a wrist spinner adds. That variations and things are very difficult to read. But when you come to Test cricket, you can easily just leave the delivery if it's sliding wide, or you can easily just block out deliveries and stay at the middle, because there's no balls to run out of. The main thing about the wrist spinner in T20 and ODI cricket is that the pressure is on you if you start missing some deliveries or they're accumulating dot balls, because you're going to have to go after them at some point because you're running out of deliveries. Whereas in Test cricket, you don't really need to do that. So, generally speaking, in world cricket, the wrist spinners have not necessarily been easy to find, but also it's not very easy to find them, generally speaking, in the world. They are very, very rare breed of cricketers, and when you have them, you need to really look after them, of course. So I just wanted to add that, obviously, to the mix on why we normally don't see it. We'll see off spinners a lot more than leg spinners in the game in Test cricket. You can move on to the Bedingham point.
Yes. So I was telling, I told, who was I telling? Either you or you, our other friend, about Bedingham's issue. He's a great batter, amazing, but for Bedingham to be on the plane to New Zealand, he needed to blow the barn door open, because Bedingham left a little later than the Kolpak guys. And at the time that he left, that number 4, that middle order spot in South African cricket was wide open. So him coming back now in this season, he had to do essentially break records similar to what Duan Olivier did, or even what Simon Harmer did, in order for him to be on the plane. Right? I think he scored 150 in the last 4-day game. That was the only other game that he had. But we have guys averaging 93. Nicky van der Berg averages 73. You got guys in that runs column who are up there putting runs up. Zubair Hamza's in the line, and the queue for David Bellingham is so long. You've got Yanaman Malan for 4. You've got Zubair Hamza, who's now a traveling reserve on the side. You've essentially got Ryan Rickleton sandwiched in there as an opportunity for him if Mark decides that he's no longer good enough to be a reserve wicketkeeper and actually can play in the side. And so now you've got 3 guys you have to jump over before David Bellingham comes in. On top of the fact that we're trying to figure out what to do with Aiden Markham if he's going to bat at 4. Also, Rassie van der Dissen's also in there. So David leaving South Africa, two seasons ago, I don't know when it was, Khalid, you can correct me, that is what set him back. It wasn't now, because all he had to do, he hasn't started the season off well. And we know how great a batter he can be. But he needed to put up those numbers. You need to be batting so well that the selectors can't be like, we can't leave you out. Like Duan Oliver, even though he bowls like 130, the selectors were like, there's no way we can leave this guy out because he's breaking records. That's what we needed to see from David Bellingham. He hasn't played all the games this season. That's also been, it's not his fault. But even in the times where he played, he didn't necessarily stand out and say, hey, I'm the guy. That 150 last week was great, but I don't think it was good enough for him to climb on to be on the plane with Zubair Hamza, with Yanaman Malan, who scored a double century in the first week, with and Yanaman sitting at home, and you've also got the youngsters, the Reynard Fantonas, you've also got the Matthew Breatskis. There's so many people fighting for those batting spots that he has to be super, super special in one season for him to climb through. And remember, guys, Tony DeZorzi and he wasn't even in the SAA squad. So there's so many batters in that SAA squad that also need an opportunity, that are also in the line. And so it's really tough for David Bellingham. I don't even think he's going to be there for England. His only hope is to start in 2023, the end of next season, and have a great start from September until the end of November, where he puts down numbers. Like, you need to put down numbers. You need to be at a point where everybody's asking for you in the comment section because your average is insane. Everything's going, just like how Ryan Rickleton got into the side. Ryan Rickleton was so far away from the Proteas side from a test perspective. But because he was putting down numbers, he scored 2 centuries. He also averaged 93 in probably the hardest place to bat in the country. There was no way they were going to leave him out. So this is where David Bellingham needs to decide. And also, there's that allegiance question that's been going around on Twitter. I think it might be easier for him to actually play for England than it is to play for South Africa right now. At the moment,
yes.
Because I don't see him jumping the line. Whereas with England, there are definite holes inside that top 6. So he needs to choose. He needs to tell us what he wants. And then on top of that, if he wants South Africa, he must bat like he's got like 2 more games left. He's got the Lions this weekend. He needs to show up and like another 150, and then maybe finish off with another century, and then we can sit there going top run scorer David Bellingham. He has to go to England. That's probably the only way David Bellingham can even be on that plane, is if he finishes top run scorer in the domestic 4-day series. Then you can say, okay, fine, put him on that plane.
Yeah, and from what I've heard as well, from the sources and the circles that I've heard from as well, is that England is possibly an option for him. I think at the end of, if I remember correctly, the timeline of when he left and played in England, etc., I think he will be eligible to play in November's side, I think. And he signed an extra 3 years to play for Durham as well. So I don't know what the situation is. I did message him to ask him if the rumors are true. He hasn't gotten back to me. So obviously there's a game tomorrow. So obviously it was maybe a bit of bad timing on my part to actually ask him today. But I wanted to know because there was some obviously back and forth on Twitter about this. Obviously Zahid Adams, a close friend of the channel as well. He was talking to your buddy Tim, our buddy Tim as well. So they were going at
Tim loves both Bellingham and Harmer. So he must be ecstatic about Simon.
And Les Duploy, who also has a situation, might have have a similar situation to Bellingham, but
And the
he's
crappy
one
thing
guy.
is, that both players told me personally on this channel that they want to play for South Africa. So that's where the whole narrative changes about a year ago. So things can change in South African cricket. A week is long, so a lot of things can change in South African cricket very, very, very quickly. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Let's see if there is a press release that gets released, or something that goes out, or any message that goes out from a South African perspective about Bellingham. It's easy for us to just call for people to get selected. We're always doing it every single time we have selection talks. I don't think anybody's ever been 100% happy with a squad. There's always something. There's always someone or something that has been left out. And that's in every sport. When you look at football, you look at NBA, you look at American football, it doesn't matter what you look at. There's always going to be. When it comes to selection, that's the most critical, that's the most criticized aspect of the game.
Yes. One last
And
point. I know a lot of guys were talking about Dave Bellingham's county performances in the comments. He has to score in South Africa, largely because you can't say he did well in county, so he needs to come in, because a lot of the players in South Africa don't have the opportunity to play in county. So he has to score against his peers. And unfortunately, he hasn't done that yet. So essentially, that's what the selectors have said. Is if you're Kolpak, do stuff in South Africa, then we'll select you.
yeah, but also at the same time, we've got people calling with regards to county cricket. People are calling like they're comparing the two, saying that Kolpak is better, whatever. Kolpak. I mean, sorry, county is better than our domestic system. Then I want to obviously test that theory and see how many of those guys that come back into our system actually dominate like they dominate in county cricket. The guys from England that have been selected were doing well in county cricket and moved up to test cricket and maybe not doing as well. So we can't necessarily say that it's better, or we can't necessarily say that that's the case. So Bellingham obviously has to do it consistently. Look, for example, Kyle Verreynne. Now, I know there's some technical flaws there that we've seen in the recent times that he's gotten an opportunity. But the guy was consistent for 3 years in a row, putting up numbers of above 50, averaging above 50 every single season. From the time that he was newcomer of the year domestically to now, recently, to him getting his test call up, he's been consistent every single domestic season. So that's consecutive run scoring seasons that we can be talking about. Whereas Bellingham has been a little bit hot and cold. You look at a guy like Keegan Peterson. I've spoken about his hot and coldness in domestic cricket, where he maybe didn't score like a 900 run season, but he was doing it 400, 500 minimum a season in domestic cricket every single season. So you have to put up the runs, like Rassie van der Dussen too. Put up the runs, got selected. I love Rassie van der Dussen because of that. He's grinded it out, worked hard, and then got his opportunity. And I appreciate that when it comes to players.
And to think about it,
because Rassie might not have a English passport, so he can go play county cricket, and that's a privilege to have, and we must talk about that too, because it's a privilege. If a Black African player or a colored player doesn't get an opportunity or make it through, or Afrikaans player maybe doesn't get an opportunity to make it into the side directly from the domestic cricket, what are the other options? It's easy if you have an English passport, or now a EU passport. It's easy for you to go and play county cricket as a backup and then make double what you're making here. It's not like it's oh no, I'm going to go play county cricket. Oh, it's such a difficult thing in my life. I have to go play. Cool, they're getting double the salary that they're earning over here. So my point
is, it has to be fair.
It has to be fair. It's a privilege. Anything else you guys want to add? I want to add one thing. This might be a little bit spicy.
Okay.
Verna, I want you to answer this first before Paul rattles you. I want to talk about the person that's going to bowl in this series in Andrich Nokia's place. Now, we know that Juan Olivier took that position, and Marco Jansen also got an opportunity to bowl. But Clinton Stearman's back seemingly without injuries, because I know injuries have rocked maybe his opportunity to get a chance in the side. I think that's what held them back from maybe selecting him previous test series. And Luther Sapamla's back, and he's taken wickets for South Africa. And he's been excellent as well in domestic cricket, and he's faster than Dwan Olivier, as we can clearly see now by the last couple of games. On these green tracks that he's going to probably be bowling on, I think Luto or Glenton might be a better option than Dwan Olivier in this particular test series. What is your thoughts on that?
uh, I would actually not play any of them, because I would prefer them going with a 7-4 split. I'd prefer us playing Rickleton as well, and then just have Janssen and Gidi, Rabada and Kesh. That's the way I would actually go, but I don't see them going that way. But I do agree. I wouldn't actually, based on how Olivier played against India, and the speed he has dropped, and he's not like a Vernon Philander type of consistent to be bowling at 128. I'd rather play somebody like Steedman or Luto. And seeing as Luto has already had his debut, and he did well in his debut series, and he has done well for the Lions this season, and he was the top wicket for the SAA series, I would definitely give him a chance. I think Steedman has a lot of ability, and he's very good with moving the ball off the deck, and he could be very lethal in those conditions as well. So either or, I would be fine with, and I would personally play one of them ahead of Olivier, unless they decide to go with my route and play 7-4, but I don't see them doing that.
I'm here for 7-4 all the way, but I agree with you. We can take, guys. We can take 20 wickets with 3 seamers in cage.
Yeah.
We can, even on those pitches. My issue is his effectiveness, right? If you look at the New Zealand team, what they have, they've got Southey, who can swing the ball, and does a similar job to what James Anderson does for England, so he can play pretty much everywhere because the ball speaks. You've got the left arm seamer of Trent Bolt, who's quick, who also can get the ball to swing into the right hander, and so that's a skill that he has. And then you've got Neil Wagner, whichever one you want to call it, and he's the enforcer, right? If we thought what we were getting with Dwan Olivier was a similar enforcer to Anuch, but more of a cheap Edgar's enforcer. If Anuch's like Woolies, Dwan's like Edgar's. But we got a wish version, a pep version of an enforcer, because it's bowling at 130 k's an hour. I'm sitting there going, what's going on? So if that's going to be the case, then Glenton's got skills. He can move the ball around. So I'm happy if you want to pick him. Luto's got pace. He's not as skillful as Glenton, but he can make the ball talk a little bit more. And I know Tim on my podcast said Dwan's like the Lions, everything. No, it's the guy on the other end. And the guy on the other end has always been Sisanda or Luto, and Dwan's just picked up the rest but yeah, that's my theory right now with how slow Dwan's bowling. But I would go Marco Jansen, Kagiso, Lungi, and if you have to pick, I'd give Luto an opportunity again in the side. If they want to go 4 seamers, I don't think they should go 4 seamers. I think if all our seamers are fit, as we saw in this tour, they can last the entire thing. And this thing of bowling loads, guys, Lungi's only bowled over 25 overs in an innings 3 times in his career. Yes, he's only played like his entire career, including domestic, right? He's only bowled more than 25 overs 3 times. That he's got enough. He can bowl a lot more overs in a day.
Yeah.
So too can Kagiso, and they've given him a rest. So too can Thingy. So if you want to go 7-4, I'd say pick those 3. If you want to pick an extra seamer, then I would go with Luto, just because I think Luto's done in SAA. We got to see Luto, Glenton, and Marco all together, and Luto was the better of all the bowlers.
Yeah.
The only thing that Marco had was, I think he bowled a little bit more accuracy, so his economy rate and his average is slightly lower, but Luto took a lot more wickets. His strike rate was a lot better.
And look here, when I'm talking about pace, like Dwan hovers around 126, not 130. So it's not like he barely touched 130 consistently. Like even in this series on our wicket. So it's not all about pace as well. It's not all about pace because you can't take wickets without pace. We can see it
Yes,
towards
but
the end
Khalid,
of.
if you don't have
But
pace, what do you bring?
no, but that's what I'm. But you can also add. I wasn't done yet. But I'm saying before what can happen is you can add swing, but I didn't see much swing from Dwan in this particular series either, and we wouldn't see it necessarily on these wickets. I agree that maybe we won't see it as much on these wickets in South Africa, the swing as much. Maybe you'll see it more because he was taking wickets in England in swing conditions. Perhaps he can swing the ball, unlike what we know. I don't know. But so can Clinton Steelman. I've seen the boy swing balls especially with a new ball. He's excellent the way the ball talks. Lutus Sapamla, I think it's it helps to have that extra bit of pace, no matter what we say. I mean, we can say, "Oh no," but all the guys are other guys are also slow. In the past, like you, Lawrence is saying here, I understand that, but I want to know from you if you believe that Dwan bowled well this time around. So there's one thing losing pace, but there's another thing of bowling accurately and having skills that he spoke to us about that I maybe didn't see. I didn't see it in this particular test series. For example, when you look at a guy like um, Vern Philander, who could move the ball even if he was bowling under 130, he could move the ball around and he can make the batters like the ball talk and he can make batsmen play. I didn't really see that from Dwan Olivier in this particular series. I was very underwhelmed by it. I was one of the guys that thought that he should have been selected in this particular series, and I was one of the ones for it. And I didn't really see what I was hoping to see from him. So yeah, I was a bit underwhelmed by his performance in South Africa, but maybe he can do a better job in swinging conditions. I don't know. Werner, you want to say something?
Yeah, the thing is, he can swing the ball slightly, but he swings it from the hand. It's not that late Dale Steyn type of swing. So you can see it from a mile coming from a mile, and it's at 128. So you have a lot of time to adjust. So it's not going to trouble anyone. And you could see from the series in India, he didn't really trouble the batsman much apart from those 2-2 balls when he got Rahane, also when he just came in. Other than that, he didn't really trouble them much. A few bounces here and there, yes, but I think there was a great article on ESPN Cricket Info just after the Test series that showed the statistics about how much the bowlers beat the bat and who troubled the batsman the most. And Dwan was way down at the bottom of the list for troubling the batsman the most, and which isn't surprising because he only picked up 5 wickets and the other 3 pacers picked up like 51 wickets or what was it, 54, 53 wickets. So yeah. I would personally play one of Luther or Steelman, where it will be interesting to see what they do. I suspect they'll probably go in with an unchanged 11 from the last match we played. That's what I'm expecting the selectors to do. But if they do decide to go or to not go with Willie Fear, it'll be interesting to see because for some reason Luther wasn't picked for the series. He wasn't even in the squad against India. So do they now say, oh wait, we made a mistake. So if we drop Willie Fear, we're gonna bring Sipamla straight in, and sorry, Steelman, you're just still sitting on the bench. How would that look? Because then why not even pick him for the India squad if you think he's actually ahead of Steelman for getting a game?
And also remember Neil Wagner. I know there's a lot of comparisons to Neil Wagner and Dwan Olivier in the comment section, and talking about. I know you're saying about him bouncing out a lot of guys, etc. As well. I didn't even see that enforcer that we know Dwan Olivier to be with regards to the short deliveries, and also Neil Wagner's a left armer, so that's a variation on its own that adds something different to the bowling department as well.
Janssen.
And we have Marco Jansen.
Guys, that's the one problem that I have with Dwan is that when my biggest criticism of Dwan when he was playing for the Proteas before he left on Kolpak was he only had one ball, and that length was a short length, and it would bother batters on end. And he never had any other variation of a ball, a fuller one or one that went away. His fuller ball looked loopy. And he worked on it, and maybe that's why he dropped in pace. But in this series, I don't know if it was a team decision or if it was him, he did not trouble the Indian batters as he troubled the domestic batters. And the one thing he didn't bowl were those short balls. Even at the Wanderers, he didn't bowl short.
So, and we should have seen that. We should have seen those signs in the interview that I did with him. Because he specifically told me in the interview over and over again, every time people asked him, he kept on saying he's a different bowler. When he went to England, he came back, he's a different bowler to what he was before he left. And we should have taken that as face value.
No, but the thing for me is, I understand he's a different bowler, but he's done it before. It doesn't mean you throw away what you did before. All we needed was him to literally, you just bowl 2 short balls, the next one's full, the batter's going to think that the one's going to be a short one, you take wickets. That's how he was taking wickets, even domestically. Yes, he was, because there was just that one wicket, I think Patrick Kruger's wicket, where Kruger was expecting the ball to rise up, but it didn't. It was a fuller ball, and it took his off stump. And so for me, I'm sitting there going, oh, dude, replicate that. Replicate it. So for me, dude, like I'd be like, guys, it's fine. If he's not going to do that on those pitches, then because he's there to bowl short. That's all I want him to do. He's not Anrich Nokia, who I can trust to bowl full, to swing the ball away, to show a lot of skills. He's there to bowl short. So bowl short, dude. Like that's how you got wickets in international cricket.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, he specifically told me in my interview that I asked him about that because I told him specifically. I said that in the interview. I said before you were bouncing them and they were struggling with a short delivery. And that look here, also that Pakistani team. A lot of those players are not even in the setup anymore. So that he was doing that to him was they were troubled by him. So yeah, he's changed a lot as a bowler. He said that county cricket because he couldn't bowl like that in county cricket. I don't think when he left and signed the Kolpak, I don't think he even thought that he would play for South Africa again. To be honest, if I'm thinking about it, I don't think they thought that the Kolpaks were going to disappear and all of these things are going to happen with the EUs and etc. So.
He wouldn't have framed his cap if he thought he was going to play again.
So, like, yeah, I think he changed because, I mean, there was talk and rumbles about playing for England, and then it was, oh no, but it was misunderstood. So he changed his bowling a lot, and his skills changed a lot by bowling in county cricket because he noticed that he couldn't bowl like that, hammering those short deliveries like he bowled in South African spicy wickets, as you do in England on more swinger friendly, you would say, or overcast conditions, etc. Yeah. So my point is that yes, Dwan before was this enforcer that used to bowl a lot of short deliveries, but he himself told me with his own mouth on this channel that he's changed. He doesn't only do that anymore. It's about also skill, and it's also about moving the ball and all of those type of things, which I didn't see in this particular series. That's all I'm saying. If there's anybody that in that bowling quartet or whatever the case may be you want to call it, if there's any of them that I would drop first, it would be him before Marco, before Lungi, before KG. So
I need him tomorrow. At Newlands.
Oh God. Let's see. That's a good thing. Okay, I'm gonna go to Newlands tomorrow. I'm gonna go watch him in the morning session. If we bat first, if Western Province bat first, I'm gonna go watch him there in the morning session and see if he's moving the ball around there at Newlands.
Are they even playing? Because they get on the flight on the 2nd, which is in 6 days. I don't think we'll see
he's playing.
I know that. I don't know. Yeah. Sorry.
I don't think he's going to. I can't see any of the Proteas playing this match.
And now you guys have taken Luto as well. So like, I'm out of bowlers.
You still have Suboto, and you probably have Magala back, right? Or not?
No, Magala's in the squad too. Magala's going. He's a traveling reserve.
He's not in the squad.
He was.
Is he?
No, he's not in the. He's not in the main squad. I heard that there are a couple of traveling
reserve. Yes, like Zubair Hamza is a traveling reserve.
But he's in the squad.
I didn't hear about the traveling reserves.
Yeah, we didn't see any evidence of the traveling reserves. That's the only thing. And there's nothing been published about traveling reserves because. So if he is a traveling reserve and Zubair Hamza is, because I heard there would be a couple of traveling reserves. I don't know who they are exactly. I heard that Lizard, maybe Zubair and Magala are traveling reserves going, but I don't know if that's 100% confirmed. It wasn't in the press release, because when I look at the comments from Western Province Cricket, let me just find it flipping quickly. What's going? Oh, here we go. Whoa, wait. Proteas trio Zubair Hamza, Wayne Parnell, and Calvin returned to the squad after recently concluded ODI series against India, with George Linde unavailable. So Calvin is in the squad, and he's going.
So they're playing tomorrow.
So they're playing tomorrow. So it looks like maybe some of the
we might get all our guys.
You might get all of you guys. That's going to be a tight one, eh?
It's not going to like if Duan, Sisanda, and Luto are bowling, like we'll be done.
No, I'm talking about the traveling situation.
Oh yeah, and the COVID tests.
Yeah, and the COVID tests and stuff.
You want David Bellingham to make a statement. What about making 150 against those three tomorrow?
If he does, but I did say earlier, if he scores 150 in this game and he scores 100 in the next game, he'll be number one run scorer, which means take him to England.
Yeah.
So if he does that,
I think Tim would love nothing more than for that to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, he must score runs.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, I think that we'll call this one. It's been a great conversation. I enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Thank you, Werner. Thank you, Paul, for coming on the show and having a conversation with me about the squad. As we know, we released it, and they released it today, and we're looking forward to the series. More Test cricket. I love Test cricket, so more Test cricket. Only difficult thing is going to probably be the coverage of it. We're going to obviously have very, very difficult times with regards to covering it. I'm going to be dead. I need to focus on I think about how I'm going to cover everything, reports, all of those things, and still do shows. What times are going to suit everybody over here as well. But guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, do all of those things, and also subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. We're working hard on the next issue, obviously, ahead of the Women's World Cup. So we've got an excellent issue coming out for you, and we hope you guys will enjoy it. But thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Take care, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your evening.